So this is another one of our raw videos, right?
Yes.
Where we're just kind of debriefing what we did.
Having a bit of a breakdown, because this was a very interesting game. So this is North Africa 41.
Yep.
We just
From GMT.
kind of finished learning and playing the Crusader scenario in this, which is kind of the big,
Well, it's the fun, right? It's Tobruk and
yeah,
it's cool.
Honestly, though, I think a lot of the fun in North Africa games is everything except for this.
Yeah, I mean, I always enjoy the moving and the supplying and the.
It's the yeah,
You know.
Usually, and I understand why some people think that's boring because it's just like driving around a lot.
But that's what this game's about.
I
That's what this theater's
I
about.
like doing the skirmishes, big set piece, skirmishes, build up, big set piece, and it kind of moves around. This is just the kind of the end of the game, the 3-turn Crusader scenario. It was very compact, and so you didn't. The movement with units was still kind of there, right? We can see we're trying to outflank each other, and this big kind of front is moving. But, the stuff in and around Tobruk is just big stacks of units.
Yeah, with
not doing a ton of stuff.
with fortifications that make them double strength on defense.
And you've got them, I've got them. So, like...
Yeah.
I'm
it was
not
stalemate.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Western Front in any World War I game.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Which is an interesting comparison because... the large set-piece battles in the desert, in the Western desert at least, were very World War I.
Sure.
I think about El Alamein, they spent months building up to it. Mm-hmm. It's got these massive, very long lines of minefields, and it was a big frontal assault.
Traps
and it was, and it was almost reminiscent of World War I in that way. And a lot of the big set-piece battles in this theatre, you had, at a tactical level, you have tanks outmaneuvering stuff, but you don't see that in this game because this is at a much higher level.
Scale, yeah.
It does make me want to play the Operation Theseus game.
Oh, yeah, from VUCA.
Yeah, it starts just after this one finishes.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. And I remember when we got that, I thought, ooh, another North Africa game.
Kind of, it's just this.
Sure.
And so I'm interested to try. But this was a cool system. Because this is based off of a modified from an earlier game of Simonich's, and I can't remember what the name of it was.
Yeah.
But some old North Africa game.
I could find it while you're talking.
Yeah, and it's I don't know how they're if it's kind of loosely part of the 40X series, even though it doesn't have bonds in it.
And I think that's the biggest difference. Zones of control are very different in this.
There's like some similarities, but
sure.
It's much. Honestly, the zones of control are more traditional. Like here's my little zones of control, and you can use them. And when you have overlapping ones, which would be Zoc bonds, those can be punitive. But again, they function differently.
They do function very differently.
You can get units to sit in those spaces where normally you couldn't, or they would die immediately.
Yeah.
And so
the legend begins. Sorry.
No, that's I knew it had a name that I could not
19.
remember.
Didn't give a date, but yeah, the legend begins is the 30 years ago, whenever that was.
Yeah. 1993, if that's accurate.
Go.
Yeah. But that it's a very interesting how it's very different. Mm-hmm. And from the look and feel of it, it feels a bit more like a traditional hex and counter war game versus the 40X series. But you still have like the attack and defense, the CRT, the column shifts, those ratios.
Yeah.
The counters themselves, the way they're laid out, is very 40X series.
Yeah, it's the same kind of style. But I think the difference here mainly in that Zoc bond is they don't prevent enemy units from moving in or even through them. There's just a penalty to pay.
It's very slow and dangerous.
But it's an extra movement penalty. And the reality is, it's worth it if you can, because you were getting ready to do it over here. I can't read.
I've got the
south of Bardia.
You
were getting ready to kind of move through there, and I'm like, I can't stop you. So the only way I can stop you is get a couple units in there,
which is very old school.
Yeah, it is. North Africa games, I think we've played 3 or 4. I've always enjoyed them.
I love a North Africa game.
I have a good time with them. They have interesting mechanics. They're fun. And there's always, in my opinion, there's 3 things that kind of set this theater apart from, I mean, it's the same as every other war game in the reality, but there's 3 really cool things. One is the scale of North Africa. This map is very long and thin.
Yep.
It's because all the combat was up here, right? None of this matters.
No.
So it's off the board. So because of that, it looks different. So that every North African game we played is like this.
Yes.
I think, right?
Most of them, yeah.
Most of them. The second thing is supply is excruciatingly difficult and punishing.
But also mega important.
Oh, it's absolutely vital. And in this one, the thing that I really enjoyed was the combat supply portion of, you can't have more than 9 combat factors attacking or gain the column shift for tanks unless you use one of your supply that's within range.
Yeah.
That's very unique. It's very, very important.
That's very challenging.
And very challenging, because we have some pretty big stacks here in this central desert. But the reality is, I can't really do much with them because now I'm down to 1. How many supply do I have left here?
You have
2.
1.
And then 2 supplied
Yeah, these guys can
SU
act as
units.
those.
SU units? Isn't that what?
ASUs.
ASU units.
You've got
This one's depleted.
You've got one in
up
Derna,
here.
one in Benghazi,
And this truck's going to be here about next year.
and then
sometime,
you got
I think.
2 more we just got up in a new turn as well.
But I can't get them over there, right?
Yeah.
And I made some mistakes. I shouldn't have moved these guys up because there's a rule. We called it the supply warp rule.
Yeah, the special truck transfer
Yeah.
rule. It's the truck warp.
You can basically warp to where you have a unit that's in supply.
A combat unit that's
a combat
in supply.
unit that's in supply. So you want to set some of these like outside of Benghazi, and you might even want to
Like-
keep one down here at El Aguila so that you can get this stuff.
And it is genuinely, that is the most important rule in this game.
Oh, I would agree with that.
Because
And you've got to abuse that and focus on that, or you
Yeah.
will not win.
Because you have to be able, it's I warp my truck back, I drive him 20 spaces.
Yeah.
I warp this truck back to that guy because there's a combat unit there. He
Yep.
drives 20 spaces.
Yep.
In 2
and you just keep
turns-
doing that.
Yeah.
You have some
that's-
supply. Like, it's interesting because I've got 2 supply up in Italy. I got to trek it down to
to
Tripoli.
Then
got
release it.
Yep. I got a supply sitting here. So I literally have 3 supply, plus 1 on the way, plus 1 here, but I can't get to them.
Yeah, you have to
It's very
you
challenging.
use your trucks, you warp them back to drive it, but then you don't have the trucks to use as
To
MSUs
supply-
to extend your supply lines.
It's a balance.
Oh my gosh.
And it's
so
interesting because we
cool.
were looking at the campaign game. Didn't we figure there was 29 turns or 32 turns?
So it's 19 turns, and there's 3 impulses in most turns.
So 3 times 19 is 60. Just shy of 60.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 summer turns lose the second impulse. So it's
Okay.
50 turns, as we'll say in a game. 51.
So 50 turns, and we were sitting here thinking, because there's a rule, you don't do anything during your turn other than tack movement, which is just 2 hexes. Then you can get a supply.
You get a
point.
free supply.
But you've got to sacrifice an entire impulse, and that's okay. And we discussed how it would be. The Allies always
Yeah.
are going first. The moment you do it,
You're
I gotta
going to
do
follow
it.
suit, yeah.
It reminded me of Total Domination was the same way.
Yes.
A totally abstracted, simple game plays in 90 minutes. But the moment you did a technology, I did a technology.
Because there's so many
there's no
games
pressure.
that have that element in it as well.
Yeah.
Even, oh gosh, there was some instance of that in GCACW.
Yeah, yeah.
In all these games, whenever it's like, I don't do a turn, the first person to do it, everyone follows suit. Because like, we're taking a breather.
There's an immutable universal principle, right? Every reaction has an equal, I think that the second part is opposite
Yes.
reaction. But when you do that, it's like, I've got to do it. It's like I'm forced to do it
Yeah.
because that's my chance to do it.
Now I can do it without the risk.
Yes.
Because you didn't do anything, I
It's
will
just
also not do
interesting. And you're right, it was in GCA, CW, on to Richmond. There was that one point. I don't know, but that's the second point. There's got to be a good focus on supply. And the way Mark did the supply here is, I haven't figured it out yet. But
yeah,
you
have to make it work for you.
The concepts in my mind are like telling me, okay, Grant, here's what you got to do. You got to make it work for you. You got to work on it. The third thing I think is really cool and needs to be in every is the concept of Malta and the shipping, right? And we've got this whole little track over here that I'm not sure I figured out, right?
Well, yeah, that's a function of this scenario as well.
And that's okay. We'll maybe do the campaign game and we'll see that. But this Malta thing, as well as the importance of protecting and conversely bombing
yes,
your enemy's ports to take away their supply. So if you look at Tobruk here, if you guys could zoom in here and see this, you're down to 2 supply. You can now supply double that.
yeah. So I can
Or
keep
4 units.
4 units in port supply in Tobruk.
I think you've got 12 units in there. I think I counted 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that 6? 6?
I think I have 9 combat units.
Is it
that need
9
supply.
combat units? Okay, so you're only going to be able to supply 4 of them.
That's less than half.
That's less than half. And when you place the out of supply markers on 5 of those, the next turn, unless you restore that, you're going to have to move those 5 markers to other units. And there's more of those than you've got. So you're going to have one that's going to get a crit.
They're gonna get to the isolation
and then be reduced.
They're gonna roll dice and
so I would have done more of that, I think, earlier on. But we're learning. I wanted to get into the combat. I wanted to see how it worked. I wanted to see how the supply worked.
But then you also get into you blow up the port and then you take the port and then you can't take supply from the port as well.
You're right.
It's such a cool way of doing it because I played Africa, SCS Africa, and this one it's you just roll a die and that's how many points that you can get. And so it takes away all of
this concept,
the resource commitment and a lot of that stuff. It's just kind of all abstracted into a little die rolling
which is okay.
Yeah, it works fine for that.
This was cooler.
This is much more intricate as well.
Well, and it's much more, like you said, it forces you to think about it in the future. Because my goal is to take Tobruk. I'm trying my best.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's ever going to happen. It can happen. It's just I got to use those Panzer units a little differently. But the problem is those fortifications take away your column shift from tanks. So it's like, I don't want to use my tanks over there because I could be out here kicking some butt in the open plains. But so anyway, those 3 things, right? The scale, which is always great, the wide open scale, the focus on supply, and this one really takes supply, I think, to the next level, and I like it. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was a little bit kind of figuring it out those first few turns of what did I do?
How did I do this?
And making it work, because it's only 26 pages of rules in this, basically.
It's not a lot.
But it is very detailed, and yet you can't glance over them. You got to read them all.
Yeah.
And especially the supply rules, the truck rules, and that, because if you mess that up, all of a sudden you don't have any supply points. You can't do any good attacks.
Yeah.
All your units then are out of supply, which means they can't barely move. They're just crawling along. They can still defend just fine, but then if it happens,
which I thought was interesting, defending just fine without supply, it's just a choice.
Yeah,
trying to make it a little bit more of a game and a simulation, but
then it's and then it's like, I have to rectify this, otherwise they'll go into isolation and attrition.
You got to take care of that. Also, I think Mark, we've played. My favorite game of his is Holland 44.
Yes,
he always has some little routines and procedures that you do, like the airdrop and the paralanding and the blowing of the bridges, and there's all these little cool historical chrome things kind of bolted onto these systems, and this game has that too. The disengagement,
that was new.
Out in the desert, that's a very it was just different here. It was dustier. It's harder to see, visibility.
You can't get away from someone in a flat open plain.
No, there's nowhere to go, right? So but that was cool. I thought the supply attrition concept was very cool. We ended up losing Well, a couple times I
Yeah,
lost
you
an
lost
SU,
here, I lost
ASU.
some kind of over here.
It's just interesting. The other thing I liked was that anti-shipping table. That's just kind of a roll. You roll a couple of dice based on what port I'm moving to.
Yeah, and then it's a modifier from the Malta table
which
of how much
that
support I
makes
do
it
or
really
don't have.
bad.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I'm not able to.
Can't
That's
get-
why I think this focus on Malta is it's a small part of the game, but it's very impactful.
Yes.
If I ever hope to get those dudes down here that I need desperately, I got to do something about that.
But I also I think one of my favorite things about this game was the resource list.
Yes, that was very cool.
It's a whole menu of those things.
Yep.
And so
They're all great.
You can commit stuff to that.
Yep.
It's really effing expensive.
Yep.
But I actually
Yeah,
really liked
1,
how
2.
proactive you had to be in all of those things and make decisions about what you're
Yep.
committing to. Because again, a lot of other Africa games will be like, that's a die roll you do every 3 weeks, or
Yeah.
this, it would just, it's not active like it is in this.
I was looking at this air transport. That's pretty nice. I could basically literally move this replacement unit over to one of my airfields.
Does it have to be an infantry unit?
Infantry
Infantry
or
replacement.
mechanized unit. Or non-mechanized. One step non... Okay, so you can do replacements.
Yeah,
forget
the
that.
Italians
Strike
couldn't fly
that.
tanks.
Well, anyway. I was thinking it was more parts.
But yeah, it's
Lots of cool elements. I enjoyed the heck out of this. I had a great time. And determined defense is it's one of the hallmarks of Mark's games. I used it, 3 or 4 times. I don't think I succeeded
I don't
once.
at all. No,
I rolled terribly. I mean, you only got to roll a 4, 5, or a 6, so it's not even that hard to do. I had garbage units doing it though, so you get a -1.
yeah,
Well, I also
You
rolled
rolled
ones.
ones.
I mean, but I've always enjoyed that determined defense because I'm telling you, these fortifications are extremely hard to come by, and losing those things is just devastating because that doubles your units and keeps tanks.
yeah. Those are very strong.
Losing this one over here, I feel like you're eventually gonna, unless I can punch you in the face. I'm not sure I can though. Don't have much supply.
Well, yeah, and
But-
those are all out of supply, so they can't attack.
Yeah, it's interesting, but I really enjoyed the different. I also like the events. I thought that was pretty cool. It's just a random die roll.
Yeah, and that we both had different ones.
Yep.
That was always fun.
I got, what did I get? I got received the Italian air support marker one time. I got extra resource points a couple of times. I never got that Commando Supremo marker.
You bought it one time though, didn't you?
No, I never did. I was going to, but
Oh, and then didn't. Okay.
well, then I ran out of supply, and I'm like, why am I going to buy this if I can't fight?
Right.
But that allows the Italians and the Germans to attack
Yeah,
together,
international.
which is pretty unique. This one I was hoping to roll the 11. Bomb.
Yeah, free bombing. Oh yeah,
That's pretty amazing.
the bombing is way strong in this. That's for sure.
There's a lot to like in this one, and the reality is we played this, and it's a classic Hex Encounter war game. It's a classic North Africa war game. And I'm thinking, Dark Sands we've enjoyed, this we've enjoyed. There's been a couple of others, and then you've played.
I did the African campaign, and I did SES Africa solo. Both excellent in their own ways. Though that's the one thing I will, till my dying day. The African campaign has movement point signposts all along the coastal highway.
And I'm not sure why they didn't have it
I
here.
don't know why that's not in every single North Africa game, because every single time from Alexandria or from Tripoli, you will be counting a lot of hexes with your strategic movements or whatever it's called in that game.
Well, specifically here, right, from just west of El Aguila, that's where my units came on from the Tripoli box. It would have been very easy to write 20.
Yeah,
and then I could have just went, whoop.
You don't
I don't have to count it out.
And it's like, after a couple turns, you might learn that.
Yeah.
But in the African campaign, it is all marked out for you in
20
five
again.
movement point increments. It's like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Great.
Sorry.
My mechs can
I
go
was there
30.
somewhere.
5, 10, 25, 30. Done.
Yeah.
And it's all the way across. And it is a really simple little quality of life thing. And I'm like, just put it in every single one.
And I even thought about it. I'm like, why don't I just take a nice black tip marker and write that 20,
honestly, there's
40,
no reason you couldn't.
but There were parts we didn't necessarily get to explore and get, like some of these air combat and the airfield, air superiority. We figured out you had it. We were
But yeah, we
doing
didn't.
that wrong.
No one took any, so we didn't flip any of those.
No. Just a lot to like.
Yeah,
I had a great time with this one.
It feels like much more of a traditional hex encounter war game with the way that the zones of control work, with the intricate supply system on top of it.
Yeah.
So it really does honestly feel very different from the games in his other series.
There's no doubt. And it was funny because that first turn I was thinking, in my mind, I'm still thinking of EZOCs.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Zoc bonds. And I'm like, Grant, that they don't work. They don't work in this.
Really
You've got to get units adjacent. So the other thing I really liked was I liked this thing.
Well, and the little...
I thought it was
markers.
great.
Because it's such a big, long game, and
Yep.
we're both playing over here. Let's
Yep.
move our stuff over here. We're both
Yep.
playing over here.
I just thought that was a really great way. They're just these little... I don't know if you can see that.
It's
But
a little coaster type thing
Yeah,
to like
and-
hold your available assets.
So I've got the Rommel marker, and I think at one time I had the air support. I had one other there, but I don't remember what it was.
We start with our delay markers on there.
Oh,
as
the
well.
delay markers. And it's just cool because, that's what I've got. And then this is what I can get.
Yeah.
You can buy extra trucks with your RPs. I never did that.
And it's just less reaching. Well, they have to
Yeah.
come from your eliminated box, and I don't think we had any.
Well, then why do they have these here? Is that at one of the events?
Oh, I didn't have
Because it
any.
told me specifically to put
interesting.
mine on my...
You have, okay. My ones, I can buy them from the eliminated box.
No, I don't. Not on the event.
No, yeah.
Is my RP?
Interesting, because I don't have them. I don't have any on my assets. Yours is different to mine.
Yeah, it's replace a... But anyway, it told me specifically to put these on my thing, but now I don't see where I can get
Yeah,
them.
see, the resource is to replace eliminated trucks.
Yeah, so then where do these come from?
These
Yeah, that's
definitely spare trucks. It says something on them though. Captured. These are captured ones. If you capture my trucks,
Oh,
interesting.
well, I need to get over there and capture some of your trucks then. Interesting,
Well, the
but
steering wheels are on the other side of the.
yeah, I wouldn't know how to
Cab
drive
drive,
them.
so-
It'd be very hard. Yeah, a lot to like here. As is typical with most of the GMT games, it's good production as well. So I had a blast with it.
Yeah, it was
I
a good
enjoyed
time.
it. And we played for about 3.5 hours. And I would love now to go back and either do this scenario again or even focus on the campaign.
And if you play the full campaign, this is not a short game.
No, it's not. It's not like some of the others that he's...
This is at least an all-dayer,
Oh, no doubt.
and it might be a 2-dayer.
Well, because there's
just so much
3
detail.
activations and
Yeah,
it's
you
a
do
lot.
a lot in one turn.
It's a lot.
And maybe this is end game stuff where we had a ton of stuff. Maybe early game the turns are a bit quicker
Because you don't
there's
have
less
as
stuff.
much. Yeah.
I don't think that's true though.
Yeah, I feel like you...
At start, I've got this much.
yeah,
Yeah,
I got
I
my
mean,
little sheet
yeah,
here.
that's like 15 units for me at start. You just got a bunch of Italians.
Sure, yeah. Well, these are all in the Tripoli box. So I got to move all this crap over, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That would all be here. And then turn 2 and 3 and 4. Yeah, I get little reinforcements here and there.
And I've just got dribs and drabs all along here. that
Sure.
Retreat and then die.
Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. But yeah, not a short game.
No. The other thing was fun was those delay markers. Those were cool.
Just a fun little, put them in.
Yeah, just slow them down. And then I had the strafing markers. You had them too. But
Yeah,
they added
yeah.
a movement point because basically the Luftwaffe was
Yeah, they're just right.
strafing.
That
That's cool.
was hard to spend resource points on those.
Well,
though.
I'd rather spend it on destroying your things or
You
rebuilding
almost have
my...
to destroy the ports.
Yeah.
And maybe if I've destroyed all your ports and you didn't get resource points to build them back, then I would get some.
Right, then you would...
But
Yeah. I mean, it's...
Those
Yep.
are so... It's so strong to
Yeah.
remove those when there's lots of units on the board. That was hard to not spend them on that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if I could have got you down one more, I think that was going to be real tough on you.
Yeah, they're basically just not going to do anything at
Yeah.
that point, which...
Well, and then they're going to start taking attrition, too, which is key. I liked it. I want to play it again. frankly.
Yeah, definitely.
Like any of Mark's games, this is a great game, no doubt.
Agreed. But yeah, I don't. Not for the faint of heart, though. I think that supply construct over a Hex Encounter war game is a lot. It's that extra layer to really think about because you can't just kind of keep it in the back of your mind because
It's gotta be forefront.
It's a proactive system. It's not like, oh, I have to check supply at the end. Am I in supply? Like, you have to move the guys, get them in supply, spend your supply, but not too much of it. Go back, pick up supply, move it.
Yeah.
It's almost like an extra layer to the game that's not
Sure.
in other ones where you're just like, oh, I can get to my map edge, great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a really good time with this for sure.
I enjoyed it a lot. Great game.
Yes. Oh, well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks.